Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 159 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian, and we have an awesome show for you tonight. First of all, we're talking about one of the movies we got a screener on, but it's out now, too, so you can see it, and that is FEAR PHARM. And we're lucky enough also to have, in conjunction with that, we interviewed two of the writers and producers of that, which is Mark Allen and Howard Burd. And that's a fun interview. We can't wait to hear that, but we'll play that a little later in the show. But, so this is a good show, Tim, I think. I think this is going to be a fun one.
Yeah. We got through with the Summer Slaycation, and I had a blast doing that. But part of me is kind of happy to get back to single feature films where we can really do a deep dive on them and talk about them and get some of these interviews packed into the show with the film. I think that's always a cool thing to do. So it's definitely got me. This movie's definitely got me excited for haunt season, though, Brian.
Oh my God, does it ever? And I hope we can get to some. I hope there's some that are working on. I mean, I know there's some local ones near me that have already changed their format a little bit, and there's actually one of the ones that's always there. It seems to not be changing anything other than requiring your masks and limited access in there to the haunt. So who knows? And I mean, Halloween Horror Nights had their little thing, right?
Yeah, and I heard one that was near me. It wasn't not near, but it was probably within an hour's drive. That's going to be like one of those drive-through types that almost be interesting to do. Even if it's an hour drive, I'll probably be.
Where else are you going?
Yeah, I mean, I would be so starved for haunts by that point. I'll probably drive anywhere. But so let's get right into it, guys. This is our first chop. All right, Brian. So, of course, we announced the Civil Gore Halloween Horror Movie Challenge. I don't even know the name of my own challenge. The Civil Gore Horror Movie Challenge, number 4. We announced that this week. I kind of changed the order here, Brian. We had that at the end of the rundown, but I wanted to mention it right as I was thinking about it.
Yeah, no, good idea.
So if you guys have not listened to that little microsode we did, we explained all the rules and kind of gave you some examples. And in those show notes for that episode is a link to the score sheet. And I think, Brian, you've also posted it out on social media, so check our social media stuff to get a link to that score sheet. I think we're going to have more participants this year than we've ever had.
Yeah, it seems like it's heading that way. We got right away, too, and we had a bunch of people retweet it, so thank you all on that. And, it's fun because we keep trying to make it harder and harder each year. And this one, this is I kind of did some diabolical things here with this one. This one is...
When I first saw it, I told Brian, this looks nearly impossible. and after I got it and I really started thinking about it and planning, I realized that it's entirely possible to get all these points. And I think I'm going to be able to do it. But you really have to do your research and you really have to sit there and think about how can I make this movie count for 5-6 challenges, at least more than one, and try to maximize my score that way. So it's definitely doable, but it is going to be a challenge for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the fun of it because, that's why we also released it way earlier than we normally do. We wanted to give you time to prepare. You have a full weekend to prepare for this thing before it starts. And I was doing some last night already for myself just to kind of get ready. And I found one movie that actually gets 6 challenges in one, which I'm very proud of. And I think I might be able to get more, actually, if I really look. But I think I might leave it at 6.
I think I had one that satisfied 5 or 6, and it's probably a terrible movie. But that's okay. I haven't seen it, and it satisfies 5 challenges. I'll sit through a terrible movie. That's all right.
Oh, yeah. Well, plus, I mean, if it's under 10 on Rotten Tomatoes, that's one of the challenges. So
yeah,
there you go. And, now I will say, too, one of the things I think that we made it tricky this time is I think the fact that we made it so that not only do you kind of have to be a listener of our podcast, but some others. Of course, there's one of my favorites, the Play It Again Sammy's one, which is where you have to watch a movie that was featured on a Kim and Kat Stay Alive Maybe podcast. And so you kind of have to do some research on that, too, because, we've gotten so close with them over the years, so I'm like, we got to honor them in some way. They're awesome. We need to give them part of this challenge because they're ones that keep our podcast feeling like fresh too, just by them doing so good. And like I always heard that saying, like rising tides raise all ships kind of a thing. So it's like that's why we love supporting our fellow podcasters.
Yeah, and they were nice enough to retweet our horror movie challenge.
Yes,
as well. So
yes,
that was fantastic. We thank them for that. And so guys, definitely go download that spreadsheet. Start planning things out. I know when I do it, I'll give you guys a tip. When I do this challenge every year, because we don't skew this challenge to like benefit us in any way. In fact, it's almost harder for us because we've seen so many horror movies. Like if you were a horror movie like novice, this challenge is going to be much, much easier but when you start getting into like Stephen King adaptations, I've seen almost every Stephen King adaptation. It's really tough for me to find one that I haven't seen. So when this challenge sheet comes out, and there are submissions from a lot of different people, Ken really contributed this year.
Huge
amount. Me and Brian will come up with a few here and there, but there's never really any thought to like, ooh, let me put one in here that's easy for me. We never do anything like that. No. And so I have to sit down and really like spend some time planning out. And what I'll typically do is I'll start matching movies that I think will satisfy 3 or 4 objectives, and I'll go ahead and pencil them in. And those are a lock. I'm going to watch them for these objectives. And that way I can kind of build my own schedule before October starts. And then I've kind of got a list to go through. And this year, Brian, it's going to be expensive because somehow the movies I picked are not like available for free on streaming. So I'm going to be spending a ton of money on rentals, I think.
Well, yeah. So I got lucky because one of the ones the one I had for six of them, and then one thing is like on Prime, which is good. Oh, yeah. I found a lot on Prime, and of course that's one of the objectives itself is to watch something on Prime. But that like I could claim that for like my like 10 different things already. But also but that's a good point. Another reason why you want to plan ahead is because sometimes you may have trouble grabbing this movie that's like the perfect movie that you need for this challenge. Like if you're looking at one and literally there's only one possible movie that could fit this and it's hard to track down, well, that's why you want to plan ahead, because let's say you need to order it from like, I don't know, Diabolic DVD or something, and it takes 3 weeks to get. You better get on that.
Yeah, and these challenges for them, I know most of you guys probably have Shudder, but not everybody has Prime or Hulu, and there are a couple of objectives in there, but just be assured you can sign up for like a free trial or something.
Yeah, everything's a free trial.
Yeah, everything's got a 7-day free trial with an email address that you can get an email address anytime. So take advantage of those free trials if you don't want to sign up for the service. This is not a pay to win type. I don't want it to be a pay to win type contest where you got to feel like you got to sign up for a streaming service just to complete it. Use one of the free trials or borrow a friend's account for a day and knock them out that way.
Yeah, because I mean, really, only Shudder is probably the obscure one for. I mean, not for our group, but for the mainstream. Like almost every horror fan has got Shudder, especially since we didn't put this on the rundown. But I mean, they just hit over 1 million subscribers, which is incredible. That like I remember when I felt like it was like you and I and like a handful of our horror friends were the only ones that had it.
We were responsible for at least 250,000 of those.
Oh, easily. Yeah. I mean, so and like it's like as we saw it grow, we had predicted this year. We're like, this is going to eventually be such a premier streaming service. But like you figure like out of all the ones there, like that's the nichiest one for some people might not have, because if you're a horror fan in a family household that really doesn't like horror, odds are you're going to have Netflix, you're going to have Prime, and possibly Hulu, and you're like, well, I can get my horror fill off of that. However, you're missing a lot if you don't have Shudder. So, and Shudder at its price point right now is a steal. It's a steal at what you're or the amount that you get for such, and you get original shows. You get. I mean, it's just, and what, like on one of the rundowns, I'll jump ahead real quick because it's like Adam Green's Holliston. Tim, you've been dying to see that. And now they've got it on Shudder, which I'm hoping is like a segue to maybe him doing finally a season 3 on Shudder. I was going to save that for Ghosterdamus for next year, but I have a feeling that season 3 is or at least some kind of season 3 special will be on Shudder within a year or two, now that they have Holliston seasons 1 and 2 on Shudder. And I rewatched that through because I loved it so much, even though I had it on Blu-ray, but I popped it on Shudder, just because it was there. It's easy to watch.
Well, let's go through some of the stuff we've been watching. I don't actually have anything. I've watched some...
Well, we have so many screeners.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of screeners, and I'm not going to talk about those because we've got those coming up with interviews and everything else. We have some absolutely amazing interviews coming up for you guys.
Yeah.
I cannot wait. I'm so excited. But, Brian, I'll let you talk about yours, and I will have to mention that I did crack open the first pumpkin of the season.
Yeah, right. And I'm drinking a pumpkin nitro, so we're in sync almost.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. I was so happy to finally get my hands on some pumpkin. And we can't get that. I know you linked me that pumpkin whiskey.
I know. It's hard to get. I can't even get it unless I have it shipped right now.
Yeah, we don't have it anywhere near. I checked last weekend, but I'll make do.
Well, if I go to a place and I see a bottle, I'm getting you a bottle, and I'll get it to you somehow.
Yeah.
It'll just be a matter of how to get it to you.
Yeah, exactly.
but yeah, so I've watched a couple things in there. One of the things I watched was The Babysitter, Killer Queen on Netflix, which of course is the sequel to what was it, 2 years ago, The Babysitter?
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that one, which I loved, the original one, and this one I loved just as much. I mean, this one it just has. I think it almost does even more. It brings every thing you loved about the first one and brings it back to the second one and adds more. It was so much fun. So that's one you definitely have to watch because and it's of course if you listen to the episode of KK Sam on the first one, you'll get a lot of the jokes and you'll kind of see it again as they play out in the sequel. So the sequel is really good. Everyone's back for it. That can be back, I guess. And so it's definitely a awesome sequel. And then my Amityville project, I started back on that because now now that the Slaycation is over, I went back to that. And of course, Tim, this one, again, this is a Shudder reference, but this you also saw, and you said you wanted to wait, we could discuss it quickly, was Amityville 1992, It's About Time.
Yeah.
It seems to be a very, very popular installment. And this is part of the, it's the second one in the Cursed Object little quadruple thing. And that's the one, I guess a quadrilogy. That's that set that I bought from Vinegar Syndrome that had the 4 movies in there. It had the one with the what was it, the painting or the mirror or something, whatever, the evil escapes one was the first one. This one, and then this one, Time, which is about the clock. And this one was a crazy movie. It was really interesting. It had the most odd camera angles for I don't understand what some of they were doing. Now, I know David, Horror Mailman, he was dying for us to see this, along with, of course, One Cut of the Dead, which I have slated for the horror challenge, so that should be remedied. But this one was odd. I mean, it was fun, but it was very, very obscure, and it had some weird elements to it. But overall, I did enjoy it.
This one has a little bit of a cult following. I think
it does. It really does.
I've heard other people talk about really liking this one. So it's definitely, out of all the Amityville sequels, aside from the core 3, I think it's definitely one to check out because there's some real garbage out there. This is kind of like a highlight in a sea of garbage sequels. So yeah.
Yeah, it's got some just laugh out loud moments in it though that I don't know if were intentional, but it probably has one of the most awkward sex scenes I'd seen in an Amityville movie.
Yeah. Aside from the brother and sister in part 3, I guess.
yeah, or 2, right? Yeah, I mean, but then again, there's still that weird brother sister.
Oh yeah,
thing and going on with the sister kind of teasing. What is with this Amityville series? I don't tell you. I don't. But yeah. So but yeah, just check that out. And it happens to, like I said, it happens to be on Shudder, so you can watch it on Shudder if you don't have that cool set from Vinegar Syndrome, which I think is now actually cleared. I think I saw it on sale on another site. Actually, I don't know if it was a secondary site or whatnot. But if you can't get that limited edition Vinegar Syndrome thing, you can at least watch this one on. Oh no, you know what it was? I'm sorry. It's they started to release them all in singles. That's what it was. They're all going to come out. I think it's October, so it'd probably be on our dismemberment. I think they're all being released as singles. So Dollhouse though was one that was really impossible to get, which was what prompted me to buy this set, because everyone was saying, "Oh, you can't get Dollhouse. You can't get Dollhouse." So, but I'm glad I bought the set anyway. It's limited to 500. You know me and limited. All you got to do is say limited in front of it, and my wallet just flies out of my hand, opens up, and starts typing the order in on it set by itself. But so check that one out. And like I said, the other thing I did watch was the Holliston rewatch. Which, if you have not seen this series, Tim, I cannot wait for you to watch this series so we can talk about it. Because this is just like, and it's funny because the first season is more like almost hour-long episodes. Second one follows definitely more of a sitcom format. But I will tell you this, the found footage episode, which I think is called The Hobgoblin, is probably one of the best half hours you'll ever watch if you're a horror fan. It is so brilliant. The cast on that show is just awesome.
I'm going to start this tomorrow, I think. I think that's,
you do.
I'm putting it on the calendar.
You will blow through it. You won't be able to stop watching it because it has tons of horror icons in it, tons of horror there's references, and it's just it's such a great. It's like the horror sitcom you've always wanted, and even though you'll see like Corey English, who plays Corey in the show, is she actually isn't a singer. She's I think it's Broke Down Cadillac is her band, and she actually sings in the season finale of season 2. And I've now got that song like hooked in my head. It's such a good song. So because you can actually download it off of iTunes. So yeah, so definitely check out that, and you will never look at the words Market Basket the same way. I predict, Tim. So you will like that.
Nice. And then you watch Spiral, not to be confused with the Saw spinoff.
Right. Oh, you didn't? Did you watch that one too?
I didn't watch Spiral. No, I didn't get a chance to check it out.
So I won't go into too much of it. So you can. I don't want to spoil it for you, but yeah, Spiral is definitely one you got to watch. It's on Netflix. It's I'm sorry, it's on Shudder. I said Netflix. It's on Shudder. It's really, really good movie. If you get it's a lot of excitement about it right now. So that's all I'll say. Just watch it, and because I don't want to start talking about it because I'll start spoiling things. So yeah, okay. So go watch Spiral. Really good. So yeah, so the next one I'll do is so I got to tell you, the cast of Host. Obviously they are, all over the place right now on the internet. They're really they all have their own little extra talents too. Emma's got her Mad Wasp Radio. Gemma's got her amazing podcast, the Hobbycast. And so Caroline Ward actually has a new little endeavor she's got going. And I saw it on Instagram, so I shared it, I think on Twitter, though, because I still can't figure out how to share anything on Instagram. I know you can. I just can't do it. I don't know what is wrong with me. But anyway, so she came up with this whole little, she was creating all these cool cartoon characters called Caroline's Characters. So she basically has personalized character designs, greeting cards, prints, and stuff. So just look her up on Instagram. It's Caroline's Characters, spelled like her name and characters. And on Instagram and Twitter, you can find it both. But if you're having trouble finding that, just look on her Caroline. I think it's _Ward. I'm sure you can. It's not that hard to find the people from Host on social media. They're awesome. So just look her up and look at those cool characters she's got going. So I think it hasn't been the store itself hasn't opened yet to sell, but it's coming soon. But she shows different examples if you follow them on Instagram. So it's really cool.
Nice. And then you picked up the Halloween Nano figure set from Fright Rags. This is a set I had totally planned to get, but I was like, ugh. It's one of those things where I just ordered a new Xbox and we got the house coming up, and I was like, oh, I just don't have the money to spend on these little extras, even though I wanted this really bad. And this is the Halloween Nano figure set. They're basically think of Little Green Army Men, except they're Halloween characters from the Halloween franchise, and they're super, super cool. If I got them, I would definitely paint them because I like to paint my board game miniatures. But Fright Rags released this limited edition set. I think they sold out within
10 minutes. Yeah.
10 minutes, yeah. I actually had one in the cart, and I just couldn't pull the trigger. But I think they are going to re-release them in a new color mold, which I don't care what the color
that's
is.
That's what they said. Yeah, so you'll be able to get it. And for you, it doesn't really matter then. If you're going to paint them anyway, it doesn't matter what base color it is. So.
Yeah, so I'll hopefully I'll be able to pick them up at some point. Well, one thing that was not frustrating was our interview with the writers and producers of Fear Farm, which is our featured film this week. And
that was awesome.
It's just an amazing, amazing interview. I know you guys are going to have a blast listening to this. They told us a bunch of behind-the-scenes stuff, and I think their filmmaking process is just incredible. Like what?
Oh my God, yeah! It
what
really
Howard was talking about with the way they're producing films with lower budgets, which doesn't mean lower quality, which is huge. You know, it means using your money smarter and just putting out some incredibly fun films. I can't stress this enough. This film, and we'll talk about it in our feature, is just a lot of fun if you're a horror fan. So let's get right into it. Our interview with Mark S. Allen and Howard Burd.
So our trend of being sent some really incredible screeners to review this year continues with the fun new film, Fear Farm. And with us today to discuss it, our writing and producing team, Mark S. Allen and Howard Burd. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
What up? Big fan, you guys. I loved your Slaycation home series. Big fan.
Oh, really? You heard that? You like that? That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
awesome.
Cool. Well, if Fear Farm hopefully gets a whole franchise, we'll have to revisit it in a couple of years, right?
Well, not to give you any spoiler alerts, but Mark and I last night were up late till at least midnight putting the finishing touches on Fear Farm 2.
Oh, that's awesome.
No way.
That is awesome. I mean, because I think there is a mention, I think I said, yeah, I do. One of my questions, well, you actually answered it, which is great. I was going to ask you about a sequel, but we'll get into that a little bit. But
more on that later.
Yeah, more on that later. But we'll start with Tim. Will start it off. He's got.
Yeah. So before we get into Fear Farm, I usually like to ask our guests to tell us a little bit about some other projects they've done, so maybe our listeners can kind of get a feel for some past things that you've worked on.
Hit it, Howard.
Well, I got my start. I did a little movie called 4 Minute Mile, and it had Richard Jenkins in it, and it was just probably I learned the most on that movie. I didn't have a lot of experience going into that movie, but I had some fantastic teachers, and that was one of my favorite movies I've ever produced. Then from there, I met a guy named Wayne Rice who produced Dude, Where's My Car? And Valentine's Day and New Year's Eve, and he got me into a whole different level of movie making, which was basically the next movie I did. It was Criminal Activities with John Travolta, and then I went on to do, as you can see, Mother's Day with Jason Sudeikis, Jennifer Aniston, and honestly, at that point, that budget was about $60 million, and I kind of felt like there was another way to make movies that were a little bit more cost effective, because I saw a tremendous amount of money go. It was just overkill. We had 10 people in every department. So I approached Mark and I said, Mark, we've been friends for 25 years. You know movies inside and out. I really want to start making movies for a very aggressive budget that look like millions and millions of dollars. And Mark can go on and tell you the projects that we basically have done from there, reformulated how we do movies for the 21st century, and especially that are COVID friendly, because right now on Apple TV, you have on the front next to Tenet, you have Ballbuster, Apparition, and Fear Farm, which are all movies that we produced that are right there on the top 5. And so those are 3 of ours that we've done. So Mark, how about you?
Yeah, exactly. Howard was kind enough he knew I wanted to make movies the whole time I've been talking about movies. And so he brought me on as a tiny cog in a bigger machine. That's this beautiful movie, separate discussion later on called Notorious Nick. That movie was going to take longer, a bigger movie. And I said, about 90 miles from here is this historic 1855 castle that's full of nightmares. Like every room in that castle inspires a nightmare. Got Howard to take a road trip with me. We looked at it. We pretty much like high five, low five, did secret handshakes and said, we got to make that movie. And that became Apparition. And when he said, let's make it cost effective, that doesn't mean make a low budget movie. That just means less money towards drivers and chauffeurs and more money on the screen to make the movie. And if you see that movie, I put it up against any movie that's exponentially larger. It's just a gorgeous film inspired by this true story of the Preston School of Industry. And that went well. Howard and I spun right off into he and his other producing partners project, Notorious Nick, made a comedy Ballbuster. And on the set of that, Howard said, between this and our next big film, I bet we could squeeze in an experimental, smaller film. And lo and behold, that's Fear Farm. And oh my God, you guys, thanks for wrapping yourselves around it like you have.
Oh yeah, we really enjoyed it. It makes it, we get sent when we get sent screeners. There's always that nervousness of like, well, what happens if we don't get a good one? And we've been so lucky. But this one, like I was saying earlier, like this one automatically like perks our ears up because we are huge haunted attraction fans. So any movie that involves around some kind of like maze or haunted attraction, it's like we're all in right away. And this one was just like done in kind of a different way than they usually do because there was such a great, and I think it has to do with the cast that was so good and the chemistry that they had. I mean, this was such an enjoyable movie. I think I watched it like at least twice already. I think I might have actually watched it a third time, and it's kind of really fun to watch because it's just it's just one of those enjoyable films, and it's like it's nice to get a movie where you can just watch it and have a good time watching it, and it's like, and I think you guys delivered. Yeah. Oh my, it's totally fun. It should be like fun Fear Farm, you can do an extra like play.
Fun farm.
Yeah.
We try
We
try and lean into just the whole horror experience where we just kind of try and take it a little less serious. And that's why you see some oddball sense of humor, some funny situation, talking about the laundry. But you hit it on the head. The key was we went down the cast in LA, and we don't, like Mark said, we put a lot of time into casting. So we had probably 800 people audition for each role, and we kept paring it down with me, Mark, and the director. And after a while, you still don't know until they get into that room. And one of the people in that room, when we first started out, you could tell didn't have the chemistry with the others. So we immediately, rather than took that group to set, we made a couple of adjustments. Like I almost equate it to a basketball coach at halftime. He makes a couple of adjustments. We just happened to do it before we shot the movie based on our experience. And it just came out, the chemistry just made the movie, really. Because we had the effects, we had the directing, but you just never know about that chemistry, and it would just fit beautiful. One thing that Mark and I are always trying to do as producers is give creativity. Let the actors and director have the freedom. As long as we have the time, it's not an issue. Give me a take or two what you think they would say in that situation. And probably in our business world, in our business plan, 40% of the time that we take ad lib, we usually use it.
Oh, that's fun.
So.
Right. Like he said, we had we had 800 people, and in some cases, especially for the ladies, there were over 1,000 for each of these roles. And we had Space Station in LA, which is a famous casting center. We rented it out, had a line wrapped around the block, pretty much sun up to sundown. And like Howard said, we had a pretty good cast, but one just wasn't quite gelling. We rotated that one into another role and brought in the four that you see, the main four youngsters. And I think you guys are feeling the chemistry there. They hit it off. And it's not important that cast become friends, but my God, what you see on screen, the friendship was like this organic thing that happened instantly. And this guy, I'm going to show a picture that Howard and I love because this has to do with another brilliant casting measure by Howard. We cast as one of the bad guys, this guy that tops over 7 feet tall. And I just love, and people listening can't see it, but there's this guy, the character of Rustin, looking pretty much straight up in the air because Howard found this guy that's 7 feet tall to play one of the adversaries.
Yeah, those guys were cool. I gotta say, like, even though you didn't really get to see their faces a lot of times, just the hulking stature of some of them were really cool. We just like eat that stuff up. So how did you what? I know you collaborated before, as you mentioned before too. But what made you come up with the idea for Fear Farm, like specifically? Like what was it? Like what kind of triggered that plot point?
Well, I could answer that. That's pretty easy. I really enjoy movies that are kind of take off the. I hate to use the term out of the box, but to kind of think non-traditionally. So I always remember from my childhood, my dad and I would watch Soylent Green together. I know no one knows what that is.
Oh, I know. We know that.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, Soylent Green is people.
That's what inspired this movie. If you really get down to it, is I just remember that from my childhood. My dad and I, we just looked at each other and like, holy shit, that's amazing. And that was 50 years ago. And so I always, things are always inspired by other things. And that's what inspired this movie was Charlton Heston in Soylent Green.
Oh, that's
Soylent
cool.
Green is people. It's people.
I mean, that's such a legendary line. Everyone, like, you know, even if you don't know the movie, you know that line. And it's funny when I hear people quoting it, but I know that they probably don't know what it's from. They just say it.
Right.
It's kind of one of those lines.
That's right.
I know you guys are huge haunt attractions, and like Howard said, that this was based on a Fear Farm, an actual attraction called Fear Farm. We got on set, and about 2 days in, Howard said, I think we're outgrowing the Fear Farm. And so we started scouring California to find other pumpkin patches and found, in fact, Guinness World Record-breaking pumpkin patch that's also a corn maze, and stitched the two together cinematically. So when you see the movie, you're looking at several Fear Farms.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that set piece is incredible. That play, I'm dying to go there. I have to make, once, you know, we're allowed to travel better, I'm going to make sure I make that a stop down the road.
So as I was watching, I was like, man, the logistics of trying to film in a place like this has to have been challenging to
well, yeah, that's the lesson we learned. I'll let Howard jump in on this, but the challenge was like lighting the thing, because we thought, oh, brilliant, we found a single location shoot, forgetting that it's 30 acres and we got to light the thing, which means we got to get electricity everywhere.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so as Brian was saying, we both love haunted attractions, corn mazes, anything Halloween. We're just all over it. But there's a lot of films out there that take place in haunted places, and they're getting ever more popular. Was there anything that you guys set aside from the start to kind of make this stand out from other haunt type films?
You know, I think really what it came down to was the family as well, because we've all seen the Jasons, the Freddy Kruegers, but I always thought, like, how interesting would it be? It was just an ordinary family that just wanted to run an ordinary business, but there just happened to be a component. They're not doing this just to kill people. They're doing it because it's their family business. So matter of fact, so to me, that really kind of stuck out, is that's a little different than everybody else, just some creature pissed off, killing people, or it's a nightmare. But the fact that these guys, you know, are concerned about the laundry, and they're baking muffins for each other and the cookies, you know, they really care about each other. And they want to make sure their safety is very important to them, that they actually have a safety meeting. And that was inspired because Mark and I have been in the corporate world before we got into film for 25 years. And we always used to have these ridiculous meetings. So we said, how funny would it be to have like a sales meeting / safety meeting before these guys went out and did what they had to do. So it was really a family affair. And Mark was also talking about how everybody in this movie's remained close. All the people that have been in the movie, including the producers, we actually call it the Fear Farm family.
That's
nice,
awesome.
Nice. Well, I always like when a film has multiple villains, because I feel like you're getting more value, right, for your
right.
2 hours.
More bang for the buck.
Yeah, exactly. So that was awesome. When I saw that this was going to be kind of a family endeavor, I was really into it.
Right. And they're a close family too. And honestly, we come on. In a month or two, we're going to have Thanksgiving. We all have those people in our family that are part of the Fear Farm family. There's that weird uncle, the weird aunt, the grandma, that drinks too much. So we wanted people to relate to this family, minus the killing that they have a little problem with.
Yeah, just a little.
Hats off to Dante. Our director did the third pass of the script, and he invented some of the characters like Gemma. But the original draft of the script was kind of Howard and I sitting around spitballing it. And to give credit where credit's due, back to the speech, when there's the big corporate huddle and Herschel gathers everyone around, Howard had me in the floor. There's some things that didn't make it in the film where Howard was just talking about, obeying city and state ordinances. We're going to go do horrible things to people, but let's make sure we stay to code.
Yeah, that scene was great. John, right? Littlefield, he was the one that played. He was so funny in that scene. It's so natural the way he was doing it. I just loved how he just with the like almost like a typical boss would be in the meeting. Right when you think it's over, you go, oh, and this, and oh, and this. Those were just delightful. Those little peanut butter cookies or something. That was just those little touches like that. I think is what and since that happened pretty early on, it just pulled me into the movie, and I was like, okay, I love this already. I don't, it's like we're like 15 minutes in, I love it, and
Mark and I were saying how authentic these sets were. So last night we're editing, and we looked at the special effects supervisor, and we said, what did you do on that shot? I don't see anything. There's no blood. And he goes, oh, I took the chicken out that came down from the roof. And I said, dude, that is a great effect, man. That's a real chicken in the middle of the scene in the coop when they're killing people, just fly into the scene. And I said, no, you
don't scrub the production value.
Yeah. Oh no!
Now, thank God he didn't have an agent, that chicken, or it really would have been screwed.
Yeah, then you guys would be clucked for sure. Sorry, I had to keep our classic Civil Gore puns in there.
Yeah.
You touched on Herschel Walker, played by the lovely John Littlefield, and he had been in a really small part on our previous movie. And we had considered him for apparition, and for some reason we needed to get, I think Kevin Pollak jumped into that role, so we had to pass him over. And then saw him, he blew us away in Ballbuster, Howard and I, our previous film, and we put him in this. And from day one, we knew day one we were going to have a sequel because this guy was carrying this thing so well. And what people don't realize, you might not know where you've seen him before, but anybody who saw throughout the entire 90s and well into this millennium, Extreme Home Makeover, he's Ty Pennington's right-hand man. So, this America Heartland home value show guy is out there doing these things.
I don't think I realized that. That's, he did look familiar. And I looked on IMDb quickly, but I didn't catch that. That's crazy.
You know what? One thing I got to say, when it's pitch black at night, and we're shooting a lot of overnights, 11 at night till 6 in the morning, because the farm would be closed at like 7 or 8 o'clock, and by the time we prep, first shot up was like 11. So there would be a couple times like I'd say, "Oh my God, Mark, I have to go to the bathroom," but you'd be such a baby because you were scared shitless. because no, it was pitch black, 30 acres of giant corn, and it wasn't like there was these paths that had a neon sign saying bathroom. You heard any sound, any little creep. Because you can't see above, you can't see below, and you can't see the side. And it is pitch black. So imagine every night, like you even had to walk from the set to get something to eat. I just starved myself for 8 hours and just wouldn't even move, man. So then you throw on top of that, and Mark and I purposely cast, every brother is probably 6'8" at least and weighs 275, 300 pounds. Now these assholes are chasing you. Here are, nonstop, and then you throw in, a crazy ass daughter, and you are so damn petrified during this whole movie as an audience member. But just, it doesn't take a lot of acting when you're actually in this. It's not a little 10 by 10 foot set. This is 30 acres of legitimate corn that is just the scariest damn thing on its own. So I think the movie naturally is so damn scary because the set. It wasn't a set, it was real. And I felt it every day. Mark and I just, I don't want to be weird, but I would ask him to hold my hand once in a while.
I want to see this behind the scene documentary on this movie.
I know that there's some, I do want to, I tried to get Indican to put this in the blooper reel, and Howard will remember this. In addition to being scary, Howard and I had a production office trailer on the other side. And we couldn't be golf carted all over this place because the lights might permeate and might affect the shot while they were actually rolling. And so Howard and I would walk and try to cut through it. Now, keep in mind, this is at least a 40-acre corn maze, the section that we were shooting in, designed to get people lost. We're in pitch darkness trying to find our way back to set. And there's this really important scene that you saw in the movie involving a chainsaw. And we're trying to walk towards the sound so that we at least know we're getting to set. And all of a sudden you hear, cut! God damn it, who's in my shot?
Oh, no.
Look over. It's Howard. Howard and I walked directly into a really important scene right at the worst possible moment. I would have fired us if we weren't.
Oh, my God. That's awesome. So actually, it's funny. I want to go back a little bit to the characters. So, as we know, and you guys had confirmed it too, what chemistry the cast had and how great they were. But how good were they compared compared to what you had them in the script, what you had in the mindset for them? How close was it to what they actually had, or was it even better because of the chemistry?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you this, and I think Howard would probably arrive at this too. They were all really strong. The chemistry was great, and we had these characters in mind. And there's sometimes a script, we hope the character is going to lift it, but the script was pretty tight to begin with, except for some of the comedy. And we said whoever we dropped in that role is going to have to elevate the pages. And I've got to have Howard elaborate on this guy, how amazing he was on set. The guy who plays Rustin in the movie is remarkable.
You know, we just had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and we talked about casting our next movie. And the thing that we kind of went over is sometimes you don't have to have the best looking girl or the best looking guy. That people want to really relate to the everyday person, you know, at your high school, whether it's a guy or a girl. And I felt he was more than anything, you know, I didn't want him to be the stereotypical, you know, Ken doll. So he was so real and so funny. But I got to tell you, I was on the set one day and we had this, I brought my daughter with me, and she was like about 14 at the time. And all of a sudden he takes this piece of corn in the middle of the scene and he says, "Corn on the cock, corn on the cock." I'm like, I was telling my wife, I don't think that was the best take your daughter to work day. That guy was funny, man. Now once in a while, my daughter just looks at me and says, "Corn on the cock."
Oh, no.
Yeah. And for the people listening, that's Chris Leary. Keep your eyes peeled for Chris Leary.
Oh,
good guy.
He was a scene stealer. Scene stealer. He really was. He, like, just some of his line, like, just and some sequences where it almost seemed like he just took it on its own thing. Like that whole scene when he encounters one of the guys in there and he's trying to give him acting tips. And he's telling him, "Oh, no, he goes, 'Come on, dude, what's good?"
Right.
You're just like that kind of stuff, like, I think is one of the signatures that makes this movie so great. It's just like those little interactions that they have that usually, you know, you would expect him to either like run or do something else, but then where he adds that whole element of comedy just makes this so much, like, adds that level of fun to this movie, I think.
Well, there's also that fine line when you have a character like that that's kind of comic relief, that they can come across as like really annoying or to the audience. And I've always loved it when I see a movie where an actor is able to kind of balance it, where they can be annoying but charmingly annoying. Like you're still rooting for them. I love that part.
Right. And you don't want him to over Stifler the part.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and and I think one of the strength to this movie again too is like the little subtleties. Like, I think one of my favorite sequences, and I laughed each time I saw it, is when they're in that meeting in the beginning, and the one brother just, I guess, can't figure out how to open the banana, so he just passes it off. The other guy opens it, and it's like this little endearing moment with these guys that are about to go out and start killing people. Like
That was
hours
ad-libbed,
later.
actually.
Oh, was it?
That was not in the script.
Oh, because see, the stuff like that though is like, it's great because like that shows like when you get the right cast that buys in, like you get like this extra stuff you might just not get. I thought that's like some of that stuff to me. It's just that's always memorable to me. Those little sequences that, you know, stand out like that, which are just awesome.
I feel like such an asshole laughing at our own movie, but I mean, this was so much fun to make. Howard and I edited this for countless hours and would be 30 hours into an edit still laughing at the same damn banana bit every time.
Well, and the cast seems to love it because, like, we follow them, you know, on social media and stuff, and I think it's Tiana and did I say it right? Is that how you pronounce it? Tiana. Okay, and Amy, and then Emily Sweet. They're always like saying I think I commented. I said, "Oh, this is such a fun movie," and they're like, "Oh my God, this was the most fun movie to make." And it really shows, and that's where you get such great performances like that, because when people just love the movie.
You know, one of the things that people don't realize behind the scenes is you have to create something I learned early, and I'm not taking full credit for this. Everybody at the top management level has this, but you have to give them the environment that they could take chances like that, or they're going to be very stiff and stick to the script. And Gary Marshall taught me that, because Gary Marshall literally would fly in notes every scene from the actors, and then if he liked them, he'd let them do it. So I learned very early in my career that it starts with the director, letting him know, hey, you have the leeway to do this, where a lot of producers they don't understand the creative mind. You have to give them that freedom, or they will feel boxed in, and when you're not relaxed, you're not performing. So Mark and I always stress at the beginning, creatively, let's take some chances here, because it's not like we have millions and millions and millions of dollars attached to these movies. We own them completely. So we don't have 10 executives coming in and saying, no, take that out, do that, don't say that. We are the ultimate decision maker. So we could say, risk it, take that chance. Let's see what it looks like in editing, and we can always take it out, but let's get it on film. And that's why a lot of our movies are doing really well, because they could tell the artists are enjoying it, and then it's paying off in the delivery of the performances. So what's weird about this movie, we actually like the family that's killing people, and we like the people that are getting killed. It's very confusing.
That is. That's a unique element.
Yeah. So, Brian, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because I think we kind of talked about the corn maze and how you guys found that setting.
Right,
but,
yeah.
One thing I did want to ask is, was there anything cut from the film that you guys really wanted to do, but just had to cut for time or budget, anything like that?
Yeah, I would say the opening scene was going to be a horrific chase scene, and my first movie was 1 Square Mile, and I'll tell you why I'm bringing this up. The star of the movie was a runner, because it talks about his life, and we had a super famous kid that we cast. A week before the movie started, I got a call, and they said, you've got to go see this guy. Send a trainer to Canada right now. We sent a trainer to Canada. He sent me back a video. The guy was 50 pounds overweight, smoking cigarettes. We had to recast it. We were that close from Taylor Lautner. Taylor Lautner wasn't the guy, but he was going to replace this guy. And we ended up getting Kelly Blatz, who was super. But back to this. We were going to have this great scene where this girl was going to run, and we were going to have everybody chasing her, and it was going to be epic. Well, she was cast out of L.A., and I never saw her run. And so she was very pretty, and I thought she was a good actor. But that night when she came to set, she ran like a penguin that was wounded. And I'm like, no. So we had to cut that scene out and go a different direction on the opening. So that's the only thing that we cut. Mark, did you have anything?
Yeah, John, I mean, with the exception of that, and Fear Farm 2, some things kind of repeated themselves on Fear Farm 2, but we'll talk about that next year when we're back on your show talking about that.
Oh,
absolutely.
With the exception of that, we no film that Howard and I have done, and he'll have to speak to prior experience, has changed so little from the rough cut. I mean, we knew we had this movie from the rough cut, and that's usually not the case. Everything was just working. So with the exception of like that one big moment, other than that, everything was kind of sticking.
Yeah, that's cool. So actually, I'm going to change it up a little bit, Tim, from the question, because you kind of answered a couple of the questions. See, you guys are like natural for our show. You're in our heads and you answer perfectly before we even have to ask. So that's awesome. So I'm going to ask now, like, kind of a selfish question, but is there going to be some cool Fear Farm merch we can get a hold of? Because, like, hopefully, like maybe like a shirt or something, or I hope like some like maybe those like NECA figures or something. Or
I got some pants that Howard made me soil on set one time because he used to have this doll that he would plant in the field. Awesome. I will say this: there are going to be some Fear Farm trading cards. I know for a fact. Cool. I don't think we've approved the final art on them, but I know that Howard and I have in our approval basket right now some Fear Farm trading cards.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's amazing.
And honestly, a lot of it comes down to the trending. So the more people that watch it, the more people are going to demand the merch, and the more merch that we'll manufacture. Right now, I have a life-size doll of Mark going for $4.95 on eBay.
I have to check that. Wait, you send us the eBay number of it. You know, the lot number.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll make sure we get it
on
up.
That doll that Howard has. The skin is made from fruit roll-ups, so you can just go in and pull off skin anytime. Is that too weird?
I do tell you a funny story. I don't know if you're going to talk about it at all, but you know, one of the things that Mark mentioned is that we not only raise the money, write the script, hire everybody, edit the movie. Not that we're control freaks. We just like to make sure it's done correctly, and then we actually negotiate the deals. I have a lot of experience with agents and distributors, and I negotiate the deals, and then I have the lawyer look them over. When we were editing this movie, Mark and I, it was the last scene of the movie. So when you rent the movie, you have to watch for this. And I said to Mark, "Oh my God, can you please get the casting director on the phone? that lady is an unbelievable actress that goes up to the mom and is perplexed. Why is she smelling it? And so we get the lady on the phone, and I said, hey, I just want to compliment you. I did not realize how good that actress is, and I've never seen her anywhere. She says, can you send me a quick snapshot of what you're talking about? So I sent it to her, and she says, I never hired her. That was someone that was actually at the swap meet that was trying to buy the product and was genuinely concerned why the state was buying it. And I said,
oh my God.
I said, did you at least get a release? And she said, yeah, but that's not an actress. That's actually a real customer.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
It is so brilliant. Like, you could not, because casting background is tough because everybody's always like, they're making the camera. They're like looking right at the camera when they're supposed to be looking off. And this lady, like Howard said, she wanted to buy some Florence's Miracle Face Cream. And then all of a sudden a grieving mom runs up with a help. My child is missing poster. We're spoiling the plot for anybody who hasn't watched the movie.
Oh, yeah.
But,
I mean,
when you see this lady, you're going to stand up now and applaud her performance when you see it.
I did. And by the way, Mark just said something kind of funny. You have a missing poster of one of the people that go missing, which is not a plot spoiler. Here's the problem. We were setting up that day. We literally had a PA post that sign and then walk away from it and get back to where we were shooting later, somewhere else down the line from the swap meet. All of a sudden, there was probably 100 people, Mark, gathered around this tree in a panic, and they were making search parties to start looking for this kid.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I kept waiting for a Facebook account to start up with his picture. Please.
Hey, so I immediately ran down there and got on top of the steps and got a bullhorn and said, this is just a prop in the movie. No one is missing. Although there's a GoFundMe page that,
Did they all ask for like premiere tickets to the movie when it made its debut? Did they all ask for free tickets?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. That would be some good merch. Maybe we should get a T-shirt, like instead of a Save Ferris T-shirt, a T-shirt with that poster on the front.
Oh. Well, you should have like shirts with the hand cream ads and stuff on there.
No, we should sell the real hand cream.
Oh, and also one you got to have is Herschel, like the shirt with like where it's just like the whatever 39 days no accident shirt, like just there's like the sticker on there. So yeah, see, and all we request in return is just like a nod, like that, like if you can come up with that shirt, you're like, oh, thanks to Civil Gore guys for that idea.
Absolutely.
So you guys did mention a sequel.
Yes.
So do we have any kind of timeline on when we might be able to see that?
Well, I'll just say this. We literally are probably about a week away from finishing it, and the distributor who bought Fear Farm 1 wants to buy Fear Farm 2. We have about 90% of that deal already done. So when you sell the movie to the distributor, they technically dictate when it's coming out, and they have a deal with Lionsgate that they partner with. So I would say within 6 months of probably by probably this time next year, you'll see Fear Farm 2. And let me tell you about Fear Farm 2. Definitely watch Fear Farm 1 to understand how Fear Farm 2 develops. But Fear Farm 2 it has to figure out a way to basically contain everybody because they've just gotten a huge order off QVC that they have to fulfill. So we literally have John Littlefield on QVC doing an info commercial, opening up the movie. But now the problem is, holy shit, we can't afford to lose any of the people that we basically are doing what to. So it's almost like Planet of the Apes. You do not want to, like the first one, you do not want them escaping off the island.
Oh, man.
We upped our game. We raised shitloads of money. We have Clydesdale horses, motorcycles, cars chasing them down. So
oh my God, I can't wait.
I kind of fibbed on the shitloads of money, but we do have all.
And what's funny, I don't know if you've ever seen a Clydesdale. Clydesdales are like gargantuan horses. But then we put John Littlefield, who's a pretty good-sized guy himself, and some of our mutants on these horses. The horses look like little carnival ponies.
Oh my God, I can't wait. I'm already now I'm gonna be all waiting around for next year for this to come out because I'll just have to keep watching Fear Farm 1 until
Yes.
until we get that.
We didn't intend it, but it's definitely turning out to be a franchise because we already have. We were Mark and I were about 4 weeks from going on the set in this October and making Fear Farm 3. We just decided as a safety issue, we wanted to make sure everybody was safe, but we actually turned it down, and we were going to film it next October instead.
Oh.
But if it wasn't during COVID, we would have a Fear Farm 3 filmed in October.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
full disclosure, I don't know if it's so much for safety. Howard just didn't want to have to distance himself 6 feet from anybody walking through that dark cornfield.
Yeah. See, it's those forgotten problems with COVID that people don't talk about anymore. It's the fact that you have to walk alone now in a corn maze. It's just
Right.
Right.
Or I was telling Mark the other night I went to the movie theater, and I'm 6'4", so when I wear my mask, I can't see my goddamn bottom of my feet, and I missed a step at the theater. And
Oh no!
Thank God the stunt guy has taught me how to tuck and roll, and I look like a freaking Ninja Turtle upside down on the back.
No!
Everybody dying laughing. So I told my wife, I'm not going to die from COVID. I'm going to die because these masks I can't see and I keep bumping into stuff.
What is it like in the movie there? I have not been back yet. They're not really open in New York, so.
Oh wow!
Right.
Yeah, they're still closed, and so it's and it's funny because the New York's infection rate is way down. It's just they're really controlling the opening of stuff. So I mean, restaurants and stuff have opened. I still have not gone back there yet, but movies are something that is around here. There's a lot of drive-in stuff that they're popping up, our local. Yeah, and especially I'm on Long Island in Amityville actually, which is perfect for a horror podcast host, right? Although that was unintentional, but
Right.
So yeah, right down the street there's this little theme park, but they were not allowed to open as a theme park, but what they did is they started doing family movie nights and stuff. And then there's a local haunt, I think, that usually does, it's a haunted playhouse, but this year they're doing they're setting up haunted drive-ins. So you're gonna so there are a lot of drive-in stuff is coming, which is cool. I still yet to been to one, but I think I'm gonna go to that one because they're actually showing the original Halloween one night there, which will be cool.
Nice.
Being a producer, when I first got into business, it was always about I got to be in theaters. I got to be in theaters. And so somebody last week, they took Apparition and they put it at a fair, and they had a huge drive-in, and Mark and I went, and I got to say, it was really amazing watching your movie on a 100-foot screen and I'd like to think people were jumping in the cars because they were scared. They might have just been fooling around. I'm not sure. But it was a hell of an experience to know you produced this movie on a 100-foot screen. I never thought I would get to see that because no one ever wanted to distribute it in a drive-through. It looked like that was a massive failure, but now it's actually a success. So that was a fun experience, and hopefully Fear Farm will be in a lot of drive-ins. Will be a great weekend movie thing to go see with all your buddies and just get scared shitless.
Oh.
There's not too many things where, during COVID, the thing about Fear Farm is you could actually go and just totally forget about COVID. We don't mention it in the movie. It's nothing to do with it, but you will be so concerned about getting scared on top of laughing. You do not have time to think about anything negative in your life. And so that's why I like that you saw it 2 or 3 times, because that's 2 or 3 times you don't have to think about all this crap.
Yeah, it is.
That's right.
You know what you got to do is you got to have it how Alamo Drafthouse hosts those things where it's they watch Jaws, with people floating on floats. You need to have Fear Farm in a corn maze projected.
Yes.
We're
That would be
thinking about
amazing.
it.
Yeah.
It's not too late.
Mark, tell them what we're doing over at the corn maze for Halloween. We're thinking about having a drive-in at the original corn maze.
We're going to go back to where it all began, and we're going to have a socially distanced drive-in movie featuring this for charity. Absolutely.
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
that sounds amazing. Yeah.
Shoot, this is why
You're
it stinks
invited.
we're not.
Front row.
Oh my God, we totally come if we weren't. We do have family in California, but but right now it's tough to travel out there. But yeah, that's cool. Where is that again? It's in the LA area, that corn maze.
No, it's about 45 minutes from San Francisco, hour and a half from Sacramento.
Oh wait, that's even closer to my family out there. My in-laws are they're in Santa Clara, so.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Maybe I can get them to
on
go
over.
down though. They're always looking for stuff. I'll let them know. Oh my God, we miss all the cool things, Tim, by being on the East Coast. I swear.
Yeah. So tell our listeners where they can find the movie when it's coming out and how they can get a hold of it.
Yeah, it's on DVD. It's in Best Buy, bestbuy.com, Walmart, walmart.com, Target, target.com. But then if you want to just rent it or buy it digitally, Amazon Prime, Apple Plus TV, and pretty much any other video on demand. Every single possible digital streaming platform, Fandango.com, Redbox.com, everything. But Netflix! Stop asking me about Netflix!
Well, there you go, guys. So you have no excuse.
Yeah.
Our listeners have no excuse.
Yes. I still need to order it, actually, for my personal collection, because I have as Tim likes to call, a monolith of Blu-rays and DVDs. So it's I need to add that to the monolith for sure, because right now I've been just watching the screener copy, but I need to own this movie because this is definitely something I need to have. I want the whole collection as we're up to like Fear Farm 5, which I hope is spelled PHIVE. But
yeah, absolutely. Hey, you guys, I have to jump in. You know, we Howard and I have been doing a lot of podcasts, a lot of broadcast TV, et cetera, as well as the cast to get the name out there. But the title of your show caught my eye, and so I started doing some deep research. And I have to say sincerely, I'm a big fan. I love what you guys are doing, so keep it going.
Oh my God, that means so much.
Thank you. Yeah,
thank you so much.
That's huge. Yeah, because it's always hard when you're doing a podcast. You work on the show every week and you don't really know who's listening or if anybody's listening.
Yeah.
And so it's always nice to hear some positive feedback for sure.
No. Yeah, it's easy listening horror. It's not too forced. You guys do a great job. It's super knowledgeable and again, really organic discussion. Tell Howard the name of your Exorcist show.
The Exorcist show?
You did an Exorcist special, and I just remember like some kind of tagline about it's head spinning Exorcist.
Oh, Tim's. Oh, that.
I don't remember.
I know more about your show than you know about your show.
I don't remember the top. I always try to. Yeah, I typically try to put a little funny.
Yeah, he puts a pun in there.
Lines.
Yeah,
but yeah, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But
yeah,
I'm glad you liked that one anyway.
Yeah, and actually, what's good is this week actually Fear Farm is our actually movie also that we're doing in there. So we even have the beer pairing paired up with it. So. We'll keep that as a surprise for when you get to hear the episode, but so it'll be a fun one to talk about because
that'll actually drop Monday, right?
Yeah, it'll be next Monday, so ready. So
yeah,
sounds good.
Thank you for having us, you guys. Thank you for inviting us on your show. We really appreciate it.
Oh my God, thank you guys for coming. This has been great. It's so much fun to get to talk to creators of movies that we absolutely love because it's it gives us that extra bonus of finding out as much as we can about it. So that's really
honestly
cool.
we're just two guys that love movies and we love making movies. There's a lot of navigating to get there, but at the end of the day, Mark and I have always loved movies, and that's why we do this. And having the ability to have your own creative input in this industry is a hell of a luxury, and the only way to do it is you have to raise your own financing because he who has the money a lot of times has unfortunately the control. But we're smart enough to hire people that are smarter and more creative than us and let them do their job. And if they don't, we pick them up. So that's our philosophy.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
That's awesome. And we're huge supporters of indie film, low budget film. So I love what you guys are doing. For sure.
Yeah, I'm going to use my big New York fast-talking mouth to make sure I keep spreading the word of Fear Farm to everybody.
Yeah, fantastic.
So, and guys, anytime you guys have a project you want, just say the word, contact us. We'll be more than happy to help promote it.
Guys, thank you so much for coming on. This was absolutely a blast, and like we said, we love the movie. Can't wait to share with our listeners this interview. I know they're going to love it as well. So again, appreciate your time.
No problem.
Big fans, honored to be here.
Thank you so much.
Okay, man, Brian, we have just been on a roll with fantastic interviews. Just it's so nice in this quarantine to just meet like really positive people and people are just fun to talk to and hang out with. And I feel like this has been like a blessing during this whole pandemic is being able to interview and not only other people, that you getting to socialize and meet with other people that you can't really do now because of the pandemic, but people that are creating films and movies and stuff that you really love.
Yeah, I mean, we've really been lucky with some of the stuff we've got sent to us this summer, and like and then the fact that we get to then talk to the filmmakers about it is like is just like we've always said this, like, you know, we started this podcast to simply just two guys talking about horror, and if someone listens, fine. If they don't, fine. And now what I feel it's become, and the doors it's opened, and just the amazing people we've met over the years through this, it's just it really is. It's almost like a dream come true. You know, it's like you did not expect the level that we've gotten up to with this podcast. And this interview, as you just heard, like some of the cool stuff we would have never found out about without getting to talk to these guys. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I guess we might as well get right into our take on this movie now. I mean, you heard some of it in the interview, but now we'll really get into the the discussion of it.
Right. Yeah. So Fear Farm came out this year, directed by Dante Yor. Hopefully I pronounced that right.
See, he should have came on, so we could have called him Civil Yor.
Yeah.
But he did. We'll have to have him come on at another time.
Starring John Little, the great John Littlefield as Herschel, Amy Stolt as Gemma, Emily Sweet as Wendy, Tiana Tuttle as Melanie, Houston Stevenson as Brandon, and one of our favorites, Chris Leary as Rustin. 4 people enter a corn maze for Halloween and are picked off one by one by the twisted family who own the scare attraction. And so when Brian told me we had this screener, I was immediately intrigued because, as you know, we love haunt stuff. We love corn mazes. We love anything that has to do with anything even remotely Halloween-ish. And so I was really looking forward to this one. But really, in my mind, I did not expect much out of this movie. I figured, okay, it's going to be a slasher and a corn maze. Okay, I mean, I'll enjoy it. I'm sure it'll be, I'm sure it'll be a good time because I like haunt stuff, but I wasn't really, expecting too much out of it. And just a few minutes in, I knew this movie was something special. It was something above what I had anticipated in my mind. And the level of just plain fun. This is, we've watched some movies recently that were really thought provoking, and we've watched some movies recently that were really intense. And not in intense in like a dread, a fearful way, not in a bad way, because horror movies are supposed are supposed to evoke that, but they're not that sense of fun. I mean, you're not watching them to be fun, you're watching them to be terrified. But this one, it was fantastic in that it was just a lot of fun, it had a lot of great humor, a lot of good scares, and it was all kind of wrapped up in this package that you really could escape, like Howard was saying in the interview, you really could escape for an hour and a half, 2 hours into this movie and kind of turn your brain off. And I don't mean that in a negative way at all.
Right.
But kind of turn your brain off and focus on just, being a horror fan and watching a fun, scary little movie. And I absolutely loved it. In fact, I don't remember, Brian, did you watch it first and told me about it? I can't remember.
Yes. Yeah, I think I watched it right because I happened to just get it and I had like some free time. So I watched it right away when the email came over. And that was the perfect, when he said that too. And like, that's exactly my thought process when Howard said that about, you can escape what's going on in the world. Because I mean, this year is like no other year that anyone in our generation has lived through. I mean, this was just, from the range of emotions to just the stress that's still there, like right now. But, and of course, people love, to go to the movies to escape. And the fact that you can't go to a movie really in most places still, you rely on whatever you can get your hands on through the streaming services and at home, or order on Blu-ray or DVD. But there's still like there's some elements of the movies where like you'll see, like I don't know, you'll see people eating at a restaurant and you'll be like, oh, remember restaurants, remember we could go out with our friends. Or every time I see a movie where people are hanging out in the bar, I almost like almost like tears well up at some level. I'm like, remember the time you could just go do this? Well, this movie doesn't need, have anything like, it could literally exist right now based on what's going on, because outdoor activities are still okay in places like this. So this event could go on. So it's like, this just took me into the world of it within like 5 to 10 minutes. I was like so hooked on this movie, and I had just so much fun. And like Howard said, it was for like an hour and a half. I was like, you know what? I'm having fun. I wasn't thinking of anything else. I wasn't thinking of my regular work. I wasn't thinking of the world, the state of the world. I was just enjoying a movie. And you know what? So you can, whatever people think of this movie or not, you know what? I think you're missing out if you don't enjoy this movie because it literally was just a really, really fun horror movie. And it's like, it was like at some level so simplistic and some level so had so many elements that you don't really always see. And it was just it was a great mix of horror comedy. The cast was absolutely amazing. And as you heard in the interview too, they said how close they were. And if you follow them on social media, they're still like all like almost like virtually high-fiving each other about it and saying how much fun it was. I think we've Amy Stolt, Emily Sweet, and Tiana Tuttle. We've interacted with them on social media, and they were always like, "Oh, thank you so much for saying that. We had such a good time. We had fun." I mean, and that's the main consensus you see over and over again with their interactions. And you don't just do that if I mean, listen, we've seen plenty of movies where we said, "Hey, great job," and they don't even say a word because for whatever reason. But the fact that they love this movie and they're so proud of it and they had so much fun making it and they love sharing it with the fans, what more do you ask for,
Yeah, and when you said in some ways it's straightforward and has kind of follows a straightforward formula, I don't mind that if the movie is entertaining and if you have a good cast and if you have good humor and stuff. It doesn't have to be a plot like Inception where you have to dive down into multiple layers. It doesn't have to have any deep meaning. If the movie's enjoyable and entertaining, who cares, So, and
right.
I thought this one just did a perfect job of kind of blending in a lot of elements of other horror movies that, as a horror fan, you're going to pick up on Texas Chainsaw Massacre influences. You're going to pick up on Motel Hell influences.
Yes, definitely got that one.
Definitely has that. I mean, you get a lot of these, and then other slashers and stuff. So you get a lot of that feel to this one, but it never feels derivative, and it never feels like it's just following like a paint by numbers type of thing. It feels fresh and fun and entertaining. So I love when I come across a movie like this that I just have no expectations for, and then it just exceeds my expectations by just being just a really fun movie. So I guess we could talk a little bit about. We won't go into spoilers at all because the movie's out. I mean, you guys can go watch it, so we don't want to spoil it for you.
Yeah, and it's a good price on DVD if you just want to buy it. I think it's like $10. I saw it at Best Buy, which I need to still order myself. I think the reason why I didn't order it because I was wanting to make sure it wasn't coming out on Blu-ray yet, which I don't think it is. I think it's just on DVD right now, so I'm gonna place the order this week. So so
you have 4, I'll say kids. They're young adults who have gone to this cornfield for kind of your typical haunt type opening. You have 4 kids that come to this haunted attraction just to have a little fun. And what they don't realize is that there is a family who owns this cornfield that are into some more nefarious business dealings, I guess we should say. And so these 4 kids kind of get picked for, one of their group gets picked for a quote unquote VIP tour. And that kind of gets them separated, which I have to mention. I thought the way they separated these people in this movie was quite brilliant. How they managed to get this group to kind of get them on their own, which I won't give away, but
right.
I thought it was very clever. I'll put it that way. But yeah, so this family has some nefarious designs on these kids, and as I was mentioning in the interview, when I saw that this was going to be a family of villains instead of just one slasher, I was immediately really, really happy because I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I love the idea of this homicidal family, and so whenever I see a movie that kind of starts going towards that direction, I feel like you're getting 5 or 6 killers for the price of one. And the design of the characters in these was really, really cool, and that kind of added to it because you had such differing personalities within the family, but they were all really, really interesting and cool.
Yeah, it was a little. There was also a little bit of hint, and maybe it's only because we just watched a series, but there was a hint of wrong turn in there too, a little bit.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
with the way the
absolutely.
family was. Yeah, and some of the characters were so great. Like, you know, of course, like Amy Stoltz's Gemma, which was a big. You know, I think it's going to be a crowd pleaser. You know, like just kind of the way she is in it. You know, she's a bit of like a little bit of like a Harley Quinn, a little bit of you know, like just like, you know, had a lot of good sarcasm lines, a little funny, playful, kind of sadistic element to her. And you know, and just like, I mean, that's the thing. It's like each character had its own signature thing, and it just all worked great. And there were just so many. The thing is, I watched it a few times now, and the beauty of this is it's such a fun watch that you'll easily watch it. You could easily watch it a couple of times, and you'll keep picking up little tidbits of it. And like, you know, you heard me like claim, like I mean, talk about that banana scene that they cracked up at. Even, you know,
Yeah.
I'm like to me, it's just like it's just like a funny little quick scene, but like yet it cracks me up every time because it's such a subtle little like. I mean, somewhat throwaway scene, and as you heard, they said it was ad-libbed, and so you see, like, you know, that's what I loved. It's like it seemed like everything we were in tuned with this movie was like the creators felt the same way, and so which just shows that it's a success. If you can reach horror fans and the horror fans are on point, it's exactly the way you intended it. I mean, what do you know? I mean, what can you say wrong about that?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was this one was a lot of fun. Definitely go check it out. I don't know how much more we want to say about it, but if you're looking for a movie that's perfect for heading into October and knowing that we're not going to get probably a lot of these haunts and stuff, we're not going to have the traditional Halloween that we're used to. This is an excellent kind of reminder of what going to those haunted attractions is like. It kind of puts the spirit back into Halloween that we're kind of missing this year.
Well, and plus you if you're one of the cool kids, you're going to be looking for 31 different movies to watch that you haven't seen yet.
Exactly.
Soon enough. So I think we might have a suggestion for you there.
Yeah. So Brian, I guess we'll get into our beer pairing for this film. I know we kind of didn't do a super deep dive into the movie, but I think the interview brought out so many cool things. It kind of, I don't know what else to say that did not already come out in that fantastic interview.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it seems like we'd end up repeating ourselves a lot. So it seems silly. So yeah, so it's good to move on to the beer pairing. Now, when I give the name of the beer pairing, it's not going to sound like it should match because usually I try and get matched with the movie itself. But when you hear the description and why, you'll see why I picked it. So the beer is El Matador from Parallel Brewing Company out of Vancouver, British Columbia. It's only 4.9%, but it's a purple corn cerveza. So, of course, being in a corn maze, a corn beer go perfect with that, right?
Yeah.
So 7 years of grabbing the bull by the horn has gotten us this far. Trust us and take a stab, another good thing there, at this no BS purple corn cerveza. And then they wrote like the little tidbit about it, how they say, using purple corn is a unique alternative to yellow corn, which is frequently used in classic American pilsners and Mexican cervezas. We were able to combine the hoppy pre-prohibition lager style with light, low alcohol, and easy-drinking Mexican cerveza beer style. Noble Citra hops, that's pretty cool right there, throwing in a Citra hop in one of these type of beers, give El Matador a light but ever-present lychee, lime, grapefruit, and floral aroma. Real purple corn offers a light corn flavor and slight tea-like tannic impressions for a dry, crisp, and refreshing take on two classic styles.
Interesting.
I think we need to hunt this beer down. This sounds really cool.
I like when they merge styles. I think it's kind of cool. It's always interesting.
Yeah, it's neat.
All right. Well, Brian, this is our long-awaited return to the triple threat.
Yes.
So you guys who have been missing your triple threat action, we're back in business. So yes. I guess we will proceed with the clues, and then we'll have another fan topic foo. But this week we are looking for an actor or actress. Clue number 1, I began my acting and modeling career in New York City by foregoing a full-ride sports scholarship. Clue number 2, in a 2019 film, I shared a scene with myself. And clue number 3, I once played a descendant to one of the all-time Final Girls.
I think we came back with a nice, easy one.
Yeah, I think this
level.
one's definitely gettable. Definitely gettable.
Yeah, I think one of the clues is a huge giveaway to get you on the right track. So, we didn't want to come back with like after a whole summer of slaycationing to come back with like a one that'll just like start pulling your hair out.
No.
And plus, with the same month as the horror challenge coming up, we wanted to kind of go a little easy on you. So this one should be a nice. It's like just the right difficulty, I think, to get back into the to the proverbial saddle, right?
Yeah, I think so. So, so think about that one and send us in your answers if you got an answer for that one, and we'll have the answer next week. So next up is our fan topic, Foo, and Brian, I'm going to let you ask this one.
Okay. This again, remember, I know if you sent one, you haven't heard it yet. It's just I do these randomized, so we have a big pool of them. So David McHugh sent a lot in, so he's like one of those, like, he's not like a weighted ping pong ball or something. He's got a lot in there, so he's coming up to the top a lot. So his question was, do you play fantasy football, and would you want to do a Civil Gore League? So I guess I'll let you go with this one first, Tim. Your answer first.
Okay, so this might be surprising to some people, or maybe not. I don't know. I have never played fantasy football, and to be honest, I don't quite know how to play fantasy football. And so when I originally saw this question on the rundown, I was like, Brian, we got to change the question. And he was like, what do you mean? I went, well, we got to change the question. I don't know what fantasy football really is. I don't know how to play it. And he was like, but that would make it especially entertaining. And I couldn't disagree. I was like, you know what? That probably will be very entertaining to some of our listeners. But yeah, I am a college basketball guy. I'm not a big sports guy in general, but college basketball is my only sport that I've ever followed with any kind of fervor at all. I will occasionally watch football, primarily Super Bowl and playoffs. Very rarely I'll watch Panthers season games before they started sucking so bad I didn't even bother with that. So, I'm probably most after college baskoball. Professional football is probably the sport I'm the most knowledgeable about, but not to the point I've ever gotten into fantasy football at all. It's never interested me. I don't know enough about it to really know what I would be doing. So I told Brian, I was like, I don't think I even know how to play fantasy football. And he was like, well, maybe we came up with this idea that maybe I explain how I think it's played. And then Brian tells me how close I am to it, and then maybe explains it to me.
It's almost like the reverse of the pick of the week. Now I get to see how Tim is either right on the money or way off from what fantasy football is.
All right, so okay, I think I got a broad overview. Okay, so I know there's a draft. So I know there's like a draft where you're picking your team and you're picking your players and your positions, right? So I kind of get some sense of that. All right. So then I feel like you've got your team of these various real life players. Okay. And then this is where things get murky to me, because I feel like, okay, so you see that week's games and the stats, and then somehow, however that player performed in real life, I feel like you get some kind of points for your team that you had him on your team. So
yeah, that is basically what it is. So you pretty much got the very basics of it.
Right. So if I have this guy who's a quarterback and he passes for X yards that week, then I'm getting so many points. But I have no clue how those points are tabulated or anything.
So that's where actually the styles vary. Like there's there's different style of point scoring leagues, and depending on what kind of league you're in, that depends actually how you want to draft. But like, let's say, so you'll get points for a lot of leagues. Like the basic ones you'll get points for every yard. I think it's some leagues it's like, I think it's like 0.25 per yard kind of a thing. Sometimes you'll get a point for each like catch. If you get usually about 6 points for a touchdown, just like you would like if the team would get a 6-point touchdown. So and it's like, so that's why you want to and actually some leagues it also depends on how you do it, but usually the standard format is you get a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and then a tight end. Then you pick a defense and a kicker. And also there's a flex position where you can either put in another tight end and a wide receiver or a running back. And so what you want to look for, though, is like, so each, when you draft, they have rankings. I mean, like this gets on full. I mean, you think there's horror podcasts. There's about 500 fantasy football podcasts, too. So and actually my league last year, I'm in 2 leagues currently right now. And my last year with the league where I actually do one where I actually bet money on it. That was what I won finally after like 12 years of being in fantasy football. I finally won the whole thing. I have lost in the final game like 5 times amongst all my leagues. Finally won though, and that's what I used the winnings to buy my Oculus. So it's like it gets very frustrating on Sunday because you're basically I'm looking at my phone constantly, watching to see like the score. Because what you do is when you set your lineup, you're also going against somebody. So it's like, it's like a game going on too. So, depending on how your points climb up, you could, it depends how their players do versus your players do. It goes up. So you could have literally like the best teams. Like there are some okay, what's one football player right now that you could think of that you would think would be a shoo-in to get on a fantasy team?
Oh gosh, I don't know, like a Tom Brady or something.
Right, exactly. He's one of the lower quarterbacks ranked now.
Wow.
Because it all depends on what kind of formula. Because quarterbacks, actually, it's funny. Quarterbacks don't always. I mean, the couple of the elite ones will draft in the first couple of rounds sometimes, but usually the running backs are what goes first because the running backs can get a ton of points because they'll get little receptions, they'll get regular running yards, they'll get rushing touchdown, receiving touchdown. There are a lot of ways for them to get points. So I always draft, my first pick is almost, I'd say 99.9% a running back, unless I draft really low in the standings and there's no good running backs left. Like, so if I'm like drafting like out of a 12-team league, I'd say I'm like 10, right? The draft will go 1 through 12, 12 to 1 again. So if I can't get one of those elite running backs, I'll go for the highest receiver I could get at least, and then get one of those second-tier running backs because they're probably still going to be there on the way around because it's a quick turnaround if you're down. Now I've had the first pick number of times, and the first pick is excruciating because yes, you get the best player overall, but then you don't draft again sometimes for another 23 times. So you're just watching every other player go that you can't get. Yeah. So, and the eBay term snipe?
Yeah.
Where well, that's my like whole draft almost 90% of the time. Like right when I'm about to schedule to pick someone, the person before me drafts them and snipes them away from me. So it gets really tough. Some people just auto draft. And what screws up about auto draft is it screws up the league in some ways because what it'll do is auto draft will literally, unless someone sits there for hours, literally putting their own custom ranking, it will basically pick the top player that they need. So, but now say a team has like those positions I told you about, right? Has those set positions. Then it has a bench of sometimes 5, 6 bench players. Well, what happens is what it'll do is it'll just keep filling. So you could end up having an auto draft pick could possibly have a bench of like all wide receivers, which is not really good because then you only have 2 running backs in there. And what screws you up too is also there's that bye week. So what I always do when I draft, I like one of the stats I always look at is the bye week because one year I did not look at the bye week and I ended up having 6 of my starting players all with the same bye week. So I had 6 of my star players not playing. And I actually had to drop someone because I didn't even have enough on the bench to do it. So there's a lot, like in the draft to prepare. That's why people literally prepare weeks and weeks for the draft and listen to shows and read magazines. That's why there's 800 fantasy football magazines out there. So this year I was just, obviously with everything going on in life, I was just so not into draft day. So I literally a day before I looked at the thing. I'm like, oh, okay, this is fine. I wasn't even sure there was going to be a football season, in all honesty. So, but I ended up drafting well. I'm 1-1 in both my leagues this year. So far, I actually should have been 2-0 in my big league. It's just one of my players just did horrible. I don't know what happened. And then this week, like my star running back got hurt in one of the leagues and is out for the season. So there's a lot of play. It's like almost as frustrating as actually being a real general manager in cases. But yeah, so that's basically fantasy football. So you had the essence of it. But like I said, there's a lot of things. And sometimes like leagues will actually where, like most of my leagues have been always where you can just, draft and drop players at will as long as you're in the right waiver order based on the thing. It's like, so say 5 people get the players, want the same player, there isn't a set waiver order where whoever picked it for whoever's the highest waiver will get that player if there's a tie of 5 people wanting it. But in one of my leagues this year, they did a thing where you have $100 of fake salary. And so you not only do you have to draft your pickup player that you want, but you have to bid on him. So you have to put in like a dollar amount. So if there's a tie, it'll go to the money, whoever picks more. And if that's still tied, then it goes to the waiver order. So there's a little extra, but sometimes some leagues, it's like you'll actually, to draft, you get a start of a salary cap kind of a thing. My leagues never do that, thank God, because I think I'd lose my mind. Yeah, so like, where you'd actually bid on a player and like say, all right, I'm bidding like $50 on him kind of a thing. So, but yeah, I mean, overall it's fun. It's a fun way to, especially if your local team sucks, it gives you like something, which I'm a Jet fan, so you can see where I'm going with that. But yeah, so it's just a fun thing to do. And it does keep you excited. Like I do find myself looking and, getting excited when I see, my team doing well and I'm winning in the league. But as for Civil Gore League, based on Tim's enthusiasm, of sports, I doubt we'll ever do a Civil Gore League. But David, I'll tell you, if we do, you'll be the first that we will contact to see if you want to play. But we did have the Slack League at one point, which is kind of funny because that we did the draft live on the Ride This One show, so that was as entertaining as you could imagine. It was especially Slater was just hilarious. He had me in tears. He was so funny.
Now I will say, David, if you want to do an NCAA bracket in March, we can definitely talk about that.
that maybe we could do, because I have absolutely no knowledge, so it's all a guess for me. So that I always just kind of do it and have fun.
Sometimes they do the best, the ones that you just pick because of the team's color or their uniform.
I came really close in one of those like ones on like CBS, one of those free ones, that like, but you could win like all this money. I think I was like in striking distance of winning a prize.
Oh my gosh! That's
but
awesome.
Then I got smushed in the end. But yeah, so it's like maybe we'll do that. We'll do like we'll do a bracket this year.
Yeah.
We'll call it the NCAA Hackett. Civil Gore Hackett. Because of course we need to have a pun.
Yeah.
So.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did talking to Howard and Mark. They were just fantastic guests, and so happy they were able to come on the show. And we will see you back here next week with another awesome movie and more fantastic interviews. We just got them lined up now.
Yeah, that one is going to be a fun one too. And then we have a follow-up one, actually another interview. We're not sure when that one's going to drop, but probably a little bit later, because I think the movie in question, it doesn't come out yet for a little bit. So we're going to keep that one. But yeah, but then with our October dismemberment and all the other exciting stuff at the Horror Channel, you guys are in for it. We came back, we took that little couple of days off, but still you have just a packed slate of amazing shows and amazing people you'll get to meet.
Yeah, October's going to be fantastic. All right, guys, we'll see you back here next week.
And stay out of the cornfield.